I need to take a break, sorry. I need to know what this is, sorry. Can you explain this a little bit better? Can you pause it? Hello everyone, welcome to our very first episode of the Founders Roundtable. Today I'm joined by Julian and Bauer. We are from TechChain Talent, one of the world's largest and growing Web3 recruitment companies. Today we'll be discussing the challenges within recruitment in Web3. So let's not make this a LinkedIn post, let's get real. Bauer, can you say a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself to the viewers?
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, Raza. So the TLDR, ultimately, I've been in recruiting now for 13, 14 years. Myself and Julian actually started London's first AI specialist recruitment company back in 2014, 2015. Unfortunately, as a result of a series of events, COVID, Brexit, and all the sad stuff of the early 2020s, we decided to go separate ways at the time, where at this point I became the founding head of recruitment at Scrollseek AVM, scaling the organization from 14 to circa 70, before going to the Arbitrum Foundation as the founding head of recruitment there, scaling the organization from circa 7 to nearly 40. And now we have regrouped, after getting some valuable experience, and joined forces once again. And I'm pleased to say that we've gone from strength to strength, and then we are incredibly excited to be building, as you say, the fastest growing Web3 recruitment company.
Excellent, thank you, Bauer. Julian, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, so as Bauer said, we started our first recruitment agency together in 2014, so it's a very long time ago now. Focused mainly on data and AI, and we work with some incredible companies from high growth unicorns to major internationals, and then some incredibly exciting startups, including in the realms of robotics, computer vision, and all sorts of different areas. Yes, and we've undergone a few cycles of various tech crunches, but we're back today and very much active in the Web3 space.
Thank you, Julian. Let's get straight into the thick of things. So the first thing I want to discuss is whether there is an actual talent shortage in the market. What are your opinions of this?
Certainly. So, not to give you too much of a politician's answer, every single vertical poses different challenges. So when we're talking, let's say, for example, Solidity developers, a niche area of smart contract development, I think there's currently around 30,000 Solidity developers globally. So certainly there's a shortage of smart contract engineers, and that's why the remuneration normally associated to this particular skill set is a higher premium associated to it. But then when we look at marketing, for instance, there's been a huge influx of people transitioning from Web2 marketing to Web3 marketing. It's still a shortage because I think finding top talent is still incredibly difficult. And I think there's always going to be a candidate-driven market within the Web3 space. Everyone is looking for the top 0.001%. It's no longer about the top 5%. So certainly there is a shortage of really, really high caliber talent, but I think a lot of it has to do with how you position yourself effectively to be part of that and that niche group of people who are considered as tier 1 or S tier talent.
Excellent.
I think the other consideration at the moment is that Web3 is at a huge inflection point. We are now at a position where there's a huge amount of traditional finance moving on chain, and with the huge amount of growth in Web3, there just aren't enough people to satisfy the demand, and everyone's looking for crypto natives. I think in the same way that traditional finance money is moving into blockchain, we need to start looking outside of the Web3 community and finding great talent that is not necessarily crypto native, but has an interest in the space.
And would you say that that's one way to action? I know we've come back to this. We're coming back round to the same question. would you say that's the best way to action this immediately? The shortage within Web3.
Yeah, I mean, you if you operate on a closed loop where people are there are no new entrants to Web3, then you're always going to have an issue. You need to get new people into the arena, especially if we're looking to grow Web3 by 10x over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
This is the point that everyone's been talking about for years, and now the opportunity is there. Then we've got to embrace talent from outside of Web3.
before we draw a line into this topic, I have one last question for you, Bauer, on this matter. How do you convince the hiring manager and the executive team within our clients' groups to hire a certain person that has more experience but less technical experience or less up-to-date experience?
Good question. So one thing that excites me about hiring in crypto more than any other industry is the openness of founders to acknowledge that they are not the recruitment experts in the room.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things is actually working directly with founders who maybe earlier in their careers, they can be first-time founders a lot of the time. They're by no means experts in hiring and recruiting, but they acknowledge that. So that's one thing that starts things on the right foot, is that they acknowledge that they do need an expert advisor and a talent partner who's going to work closely enough with them to guide them through identifying the right talent, but also saying, hey, listen, I'm putting my neck on the line for this candidate because I know your culture. I know this is a diamond in the rough, but let's design an interview process that's going to adequately test them, right? In order to determine whether they're the right person for us. So in crypto, more than any other industry that I've operated within, I've seen candidates who have demonstrated a sincere and genuine enthusiasm for what a company is building, and they've almost designed a role for themselves within that organization. So going back to Julian's point around, we need to break the barriers of entry into crypto. The first thing we have to do is educating founders on how to identify and test candidates outside of crypto more effectively. We talked about crypto native and this desire for everyone to want more crypto native talent. Absolutely. I think people who are immersed in the space, people who are aware of what people are building, who are the relevant VCs, they're actually engaging with using the dApps, they have the on-chain footprint. These are important ingredients to be successful within crypto, in my opinion. Becoming less important these days as we're bringing more TradFi capital on chain. But certainly being crypto native is still an ingredient that a lot of companies look for. But they don't actually know how to test for that. So when we come in, we're actually able to use our own crypto native context, design the interview processes to basically look at their on-chain footprint, look at their socials and say, is this person sincerely motivated about being in this space or not?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways we work really closely with founders.
You can't hide that.
You can't hide that.
No, understood.
You can't hide. You know you've paid for your followers.
Exactly, yeah. And we have a duty of care to the candidates as well in this process. Thank you very much, guys. So moving on to, I suppose, our next topic. In 2022, the market just crashed. I think 70% down. Your token is down by 80%. Apologies. How did you manage that? How would one manage that scenario? Some would argue, and we were having, I believe, this discussion a couple of days ago, that we're in a current slump, perhaps. So over to you, Bauer. Given that scenario, how would we advise our clients perhaps manage candidates in this scenario?
So a lot of people are going to hate what I'm about to say, because it's not the popular opinion. Everyone loves a bull market. Everyone loves rising prices. Everyone loves to see their tokens going through the roof. Absolutely, but there's no denying that. Very simple kind of logic. However, the problem with operating a recruitment company was growing during a bull run is that you become very, very distracted. You end up volatile, higher in the volatility, in the sense that you think you need to scale at pace. You end up opening loads of headcount. You start virtue signaling with
stress hiring of sorts.
Absolutely, just to capture and can maximize on the current trend.
Yep.
That's one of the biggest problems with hiring in crypto. There's a lot of times it's trend based. We had on-chain Alex, for example, that hired his crypto Twitter lead at base. Instantly, several projects and protocols started advertising for a crypto Twitter lead. Several months later, they realized, well, actually, we need someone actually more holistically thinking about social media and branding beyond just crypto Twitter.
Yeah.
So one of the problems is that crypto hiring is very, very reactive. And now going back to your earlier question around what do we do when we're a slump? How do I look my clients in the eyes? Well, it's actually a lot easier because it's the companies that are building during a downturn in the market who are far more focused, they're far more deliberate, they're far more conscious about what they're hiring for. And actually, in fact, our job becomes a lot more straightforward.
Interesting.
And our success rate actually improves significantly during the downturns.
So they hire smarter almost
They hire
in
smarter.
that situation.
Absolutely.
Julian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think when you look at successful companies outside of Web3, they're normally working on a 5-year cycle. And that means at least that they have the ability to plan ahead. They can think about their headcount, they can think about their commercials, and it allows them to have a level of stability. When you operate purely on your token price, that could go through a cycle every 6 months, every 12 months. You are effectively outsourcing your company's future to the vagaries of an incredibly volatile token market, and that's a
Healthy.
That's a crazy place to be.
Not a healthy culture to be surrounded by. Excellent. So I think it bodes well. Then I'd like to just perhaps discuss this point: Web3 teams against Web2 teams. Now I know it's perhaps cited against actual roles and that we fulfill and we search for. But what is your take on hiring Web2 into Web3? I know it's quite a general statement, but if we could have perhaps a short answer to it, that'd be great.
It's an exceptional question, and it's a dilemma that a lot of companies face, particularly from an engineering standpoint. Do we hire Web2 engineers and get them to work on a blockchain product? How possible is that? How do we do them in, etc.? Do we hire big tech fang engineers because they're the best, supposedly, and will that help us scale? The answer is a blend, because I'll tell you what happens. You have the blockchain projects who look to hire individuals who are purely crypto native, right? And what they find themselves in this situation a year or 2 years down the line is they start needing some adults in the room, and they start needing some process and playbooks and actual best practices for scaling and operating an organization. So those very, very crypto native companies, what they do after a couple of years or sooner or later, they say, let's now go and find operational and engineering and go to market expertise outside of Web3. Let's go find it somewhere where there's a proven track record and it's been done before, and it's not just vibes and hype, which is what we have in crypto. What's the alternative to that? The alternative is that you start off by hiring Web2 talent, and what happens then? You are not able to capture the voice of the industry that you're trying to capture because you don't have that deep crypto context and crypto native context. So what you see with companies, and I've certainly seen this from some of our clients, is they will hire phenomenal engineers, they'll build that product market fit, they will build a phenomenal product, but what they realize is there's certain nuances for building for a crypto user or for a crypto developer that they end up hiring crypto talent later on. So my advice to any founder is focus on what you're trying to build and have a blend of the skill sets. The Web2 folks who have the playbooks, who have the best practices, who have the procedures, they all rub off on your nonchalant crypto native team members and give them those strengths. And your crypto native builders and team members will rub off in the sense that they will
culturally and sector-wise and
be able to deal with ambiguity, be able to deal with chaos, be able to ship fast, be able to deal with the lack of bureaucracy. So I think the blend of those creates an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think there are obviously roles where Web3 nativeness is absolutely vital. You know, as I said, if you're looking for a smart contract engineer, then you're going to have to look for someone with a Web3 background. But a lot of the other roles, if it's a platform engineer or just general back-end, front-end, whatever, if there is no reason why that person needs to be Web3, then open it up to everybody and get that mix of talent in.
Yeah, I agree.
And those Web2 guys can learn from the Web3 in terms of the context, but the Web 2 engineers really bring a lot of experience in terms of organization, leadership.
So finally, let's go to our rapid fire round. I'll ask you each separate questions. No long explanations, please, Julian. Just real quick answers for the audience. Bao, I'll start with you. Hire slow, fire fast, or hire fast, lean fast?
Burn fast.
So I'll start again.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's a really tricky one. I would love to see the options of hire slow and burn fast on there, because I think that would be a good plan. However, if I had to choose between these two, I'd say hire slow, fire fast.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, we're in the business of building companies, and it's a very competitive landscape. So unfortunately,
Time is money.
Time is money, but you have to make some difficult decisions sometimes.
Understood.
And I think the more time you take to hire, and believe it or not, as an agency recruiter, to myself, kind of productive because we're in the business of making money by making these placements. I strongly advise founders to be very, very deliberate and very conscious of who they hire, because the chances are, if they get it right, then they're likely to do U-turns, and that means they will not need to fire as fast as they would if they hire fast.
This is a subject matter all in its own, I feel. We need to do an episode on this at some point, please, Sophie. Julian, crypto native required or best person wins?
As I said, I think if a role doesn't actually require Web3 skills, then best person wins.
Love that. Love that. Short and concise. As I always expect from you, Julian. Bauer, all remote or remote with regional hubs?
Neither. I'm a firm believer, and I say this, with confidence, that the most successful companies have an in-person policy and on-site working policy. The rate at which you ship and build exponentially scales. I mean, some of the most successful companies in our space are the ones that have a fully on-site working policy. And you know what? People love it. And I think we're all really about to go back to the office.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that point, I have to be honest. Julian, majority tokens or majority stable salary?
I think
you know this. I
at
think
the end of the day,
I
I think at the end of the day that people have bills to pay. They have mortgages. They have families. You need a proper base salary component. I think token/equity is incredibly important. I think it's really useful for employees to have skin in the game. I think nothing motivates you more than thinking that you are part of the organization.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed, and I can concur that fact. Bauer, what's the most underrated skill for Web3 success?
Personal branding. So it doesn't matter what function you're in, you need to believe in your product and you need to know how to sell your product. So it's communication as a general umbrella. It's how you communicate with your stakeholders. It's how you communicate and present yourself. But I have certainly landed clients as a result of my digital footprint and my personal brand. I've certainly placed candidates because of my personal brand. And it doesn't matter if you're an engineer, a marketeer, or a recruiter, a community manager, your personal brand is something that will 100% elevate your likelihood of success.
I mean, more and more I have clients coming up to me and saying, pass me their Twitter, pass me their feed, whatever it may be. Lovely. Thank you, Bauer. Julian, what's one role you wish you hired for sooner? Or you hired sooner, sorry.
Anything I'm working on at the moment.
Right, okay. Good answer. I'll be happy to hear that. Bauer, what's the biggest red flag in an interview? That's a great, I love that question, yeah.
Oh, there's so many red flags. Okay, so if they're a scammer, that's a pretty big red flag.
Yeah.
So my biggest red flag is when I always ask the question, do you have any questions for me? The answer is no. Or the answer is, yes, I do. How much is this role paying? Companies want you to demonstrate genuine enthusiasm for what they're building. Absolutely. You can be motivated by salary. The salaries in crypto tend to be very competitive as well, and industry leading as well. However, it's a massive flag when the only question you can think of when you're determining the area you want to invest your time and spend long hours of your day and of your life, and the only thing you're asking is, how much am I being paid?
Yeah.
As a massive red flag.
Yeah, it is.
There are so many questions that you can ask an interviewer around the culture, around what they're building, around what they're excited about, around why they started this, around why they joined the organization. There are always plenty of questions to ask your interviewer at every stage of the process. If you're not taking the opportunity, massive red flag.
Interesting. Could I have one from a candidate's perspective to a client as well? I mean, that's our perspective from a
Absolutely.
candidate. Could you give me one perhaps from a candidate meeting a client or a prospective a job interview? What would be the candidate's red flag?
Oh, as in the way a client lives.
Yeah.
I think if a client is late to a call or has rescheduled several times, it's very, very
That's a very good one. Yeah.
negative impact. And I think a lot of people need to realize your success as a founder is dependent and contingent on you bringing on the right people.
Sure.
Your talent and the people, your staff, are the biggest indicator of your likelihood of success.
Understood.
So if you can't be bothered to give an exceptional candidate experience, tell you what, you're never going to hire the right people.
Understood. Sorry to go off script slightly. Julian, one question. What's one question that you always ask candidates?
I try and not make interviews as individual as possible. I'm not a script person, but I always like to get an idea of the motivation about not so much why they're leaving their current company, but more about why they've applied to the particular role. I think one of the biggest problems today is that we're living in a one-click application area, and so few candidates take the time to even understand who they've applied to, and which I think is a shame. That we go back 30, 40 years ago when people had to write a personal letter,
cover letter
to and
I'm far too young to remember those days.
it was a conscious decision to apply to a particular role, and people would have had a real passion or reason for joining a particular company. Now it's when people can just click right. I've got one matching word here on the on LinkedIn for this job, these jobs or whatever, and it's apply, and I think that's a shame that we've lost a connection between candidates and the companies.
You certainly build that connection. I've heard you interview candidates, and it's superb, Julian. So well done there. Bauer, will AI replace junior devs in Web3? And the caveat here is quick yes, no, straight in and out, please, to the answer.
Yes.
Excellent. Quick reason? That's what it says here.
The reason being is AI, an engineer that's able to harness the power of AI effectively can massively improve their productivity. And I think there'll be more functions for junior devs to get involved in. I think a junior dev who is unable to harness AI is going to very much be on the back burner. And I think not enough people are harnessing AI effectively.
Embracing it.
And I think one thing I would say is when AI first came out, in terms of how it was affecting an interview process, it was very much seen negatively. It was like, oh, this person created a case study using AI, automatic rejection, or this person used AI to write their CV, automatic rejection. Now, and it's not that much further into the future, if you do not embrace AI, if you do not use AI to actually enhance your performance, and then effectively use it in your day-to-day, or you are not AI literate, it's seen as a disadvantage. Because now you've got this superpower, why would you not opt into use it? Why would you not opt into it
to make it more efficient?
Exactly.
And
companies expect companies expect you now to have AI.
Yeah. But I think there is a it's not a quick answer, apologies. I think there is a difference between your application to a job and then using the AI within your operations. There is, and I think you've addressed that quite nicely. You've separated that. So thank you for that. Finally, Julian, what role would be most in demand 12 months from now?
I think we're seeing this already. I think it's those people that are able to work at the intersection of Web 2 and Web 3. I think we are now in a place where those with interfaces with, say, traditional finance, so whether that's marketing, sales, whatever it might be, that are used to building client bases within traditional finance, are going to be massively in demand in Web3. But it's going to take people that want to be in Web3.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Like
the problem at the moment, that the blockchain industry still has an image problem. I think we're struggling to convince people in traditional finance that Web3 is a good place for their career to go. But it's a really important area, because one of the biggest problem we have in Web3 is the big projects all know each other. We all sell to each other. The guys in traditional finance, whether that's investment banking, retail banking, hedge funds, whatever, they have no idea who we are. Interesting. And they don't know who to trust. Who do you put your billions of dollars of client money through, when you have no idea who these companies actually are? And I think those people that are able to convince traditional finance, whether that's marketing, sales, etc., are going to be the biggest in demand. People in Web3.
Worth Julian, thank you.
I should just add a kind of slight difference of opinion there.
Yep.
Totally agree with everything you said, but I'm actually a little bit more optimistic, but in a completely different way. And the reason I say that is we are reaching new heights of institutional adoption, enterprise adoption, right? And we're still very much early into that phase. Now, as much as crypto companies do not know how to hire effectively, and that's why obviously we've been able to build a career out of it, institutions have no idea how to hire crypto native talent. And we're very much at that early stage where Stripe is starting its own L1 and institutional adoption of blockchain is coming in early. And they're going to need that crypto audience, and they're going to need that crypto user to be engaging with. And they have no idea how to hire those people. And they have no idea how to even attract those people. For example, a lot of these organizations are still using LinkedIn or adverts or traditional mechanisms for sourcing. They have no idea that your right marketing person for crypto is going to be your Twitter.
But more importantly, their own internal recruiters probably don't know how.
Their own internal recruiters don't, because they just have that crypto content.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a huge opportunity where we're going to see a massive demand for crypto native talent, but not in Web3, but actually in the institutions through it.
I love that. Bowie.
My prediction.
Yeah, very good. So thank you to both. That was our quick fire section. We're nearly at the end of our first episode of the Founders Roundtable. I think my last action will be to each of the founders to give one piece of advice, please. If there was to our viewers, and if there was anyone in this room, of how and how to get into the Web3 sector, please. And I'll start with you, Julian.
Okay. I think first and foremost, I would say make sure that you've got a talent that's in demand. That goes without saying. But I think is immerse yourself in the space. There are huge numbers of Telegram groups, Discord channels, Twitter, people on Twitter to follow, and huge numbers of events. I mean, obviously, depending on where you live. But I mean, we're sat here in London. We can go on to Luma or other platforms and find huge numbers of completely free events that will get you immersed in the space, meet people in the space, and that's the way to really I think get into Web3.
I'm actually going to answer this question with a case study.
Okay.
And I think this is one of the best illustrations of someone who was determined to break into crypto and how they did it. So while I was at Scroll, we had a graphic brand designer role that we were advertising for. Application came in. We really wanted someone who understood the nuances of crypto, and I think that was a requirement for the role. This person, very junior, very early into their career. I think I remember they were based in Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken. And that's one of the advantages of being in crypto. A lot of companies are fully remote and are completely decentralized teams. So the world is truly your oyster when you're approaching a lot of these businesses. So she CV wise, I wasn't blown away. Portfolio wise, again, I wasn't particularly blown away. I said a rejection. I rejected her because I didn't see the relevance of her background. I then got a message from her on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, Val, thanks for letting me know about the rejection. I would love half an hour of your time, or 15 minutes of your time, whatever she said, just to walk you through some brand concepts that I've come up with. Doesn't matter if you don't worry about the interview process, don't worry about anything. I just want to show you this. Is this okay?"
Yeah.
To have someone so proactively do this, one, is incredibly rare, and two, I love the approach and the proactivity. She clearly wanted to join our company, and she clearly demonstrated an ability to go above and beyond to show interest in our organization. So I jumped on the call with her, and I was going to just run a regular interview at this point. I said, "Please," literally, I remember she put her hands up and said, "Before we start, can I show you something?" Right? And I'm not saying everyone needs to do this, but this is an example I think that illustrates how to break into a chamber. And she said, "Look at all these ideas I have of a rebrand of your website, of your swag, of your logo. Can I show you?" She walked me through it. She showed me the color palette. She showed me the research that she'd done. I was like, okay, I have to get you to meet with our founders. Right? I have to get you in the process. I was blown away by her enthusiasm and just sincere, authentic approach. She was hired a week later.
Amazing.
So a lot of people, I think what I would say is, it's really tough. It's a closed knit circle, and it's really tough to break into it. But if you are deliberate, if you are authentic, and if you are clear as to what it is you want to achieve, there are a lot of ways you can do that. I'm sure we can do an entire session on how to break barriers.
I think there's this element of sincerity she brought to the table, which really caught your eye as well,
Absolutely.
which is really good. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Julian, as always, a pleasure. Bauer, thank you very much. We hope to see you in episode 2 of the Founders Roundtable. Thank you very much.